Have you ever stopped to think about what happens when you take the world of video games and mash it up with education? I'm not just talking about letting kids play games in class. I mean, what if we used game design to fundamentally change how we train our teachers?
So let's just ask the big question right up front. Is the traditional way of doing things, lectures, textbooks, taking notes, is that really enough anymore? Especially for the super dynamic, tech-filled classrooms we have today. Or could there be a much better, more effective way for teachers to learn their craft?
And here's the core of that change. It's all about shifting from being a passive listener in a lecture hall to being an active participant. Instead of just learning the theory, gamified learning throws you right into the deep end with interactive, personalized challenges that actually feel like real classroom situations. Okay, before we go any further, we need to get our terms straight, because people throw these words around and they can get a little mixed up. So let's quickly break down the two big ideas here. First up, you've got gamification. This is when you take the stuff that makes games so addictive, scoring points, earning badges, seeing your name on a leaderboard, and you apply it to things that aren't games. The idea is to just add a layer of fun and motivation to make regular learning more engaging. Then there's game-based learning, or GBL. Now this is different. This isn't just sprinkling some game mechanics on top. This is using an entire game, from start to finish, as the actual teaching tool. The lessons are literally baked right into the gameplay itself, making the whole thing a completely immersive experience. Now, this isn't just some fun new trend that people are trying out. There's a ton of serious academic research digging into how well this works. And that research is what we're going to dive into today. So the source for all of this is a huge study called a bibliometric analysis. That sounds complicated, but all it really means is they created a giant map of all the scientific papers on this topic. They looked at nearly 400 different studies to see who's researching it, what they're focusing on, and where the whole field is headed. And this number says it all. Research in this field has been growing at a rate of over 12% every single year. That's not just growth, that is an absolute explosion of interest from the academic community.
And this chart just paints the picture perfectly, right? You can see it was kind of quiet for a while, and then bam, around 2012, it just takes off like a rocket, hitting this incredible peak in 2021. This isn't some slow burn. It's a field that basically became a huge deal overnight.
So with all of this research happening, where is it all coming from? Who are the big players on the world stage? Let's take a look. What's so cool about this map is that you can see the centers of gravity immediately. It's really clear that North America and Europe are the powerhouses here, with all these connections showing how much they're collaborating with each other. And if we zoom in on the specific countries, the leaders really stand out. The United States is way out in front. But look at Spain. They're a strong number two, which shows they have a really vibrant research community working on this. And then the UK rounds out the top three. But the map also tells another story. It shows who isn't part of this conversation. And that's really important. The study points out that even though research is booming, it's not a truly global thing yet. There are these huge blank spots, especially across Africa, which means we're definitely missing out on some crucial perspectives. So we know who's doing the talking and where they are. But what are they actually talking about? What are the big ideas that are really driving this field forward? This map is basically a picture of what researchers are thinking about. Each one of these bubbles is a key idea, and the lines show how those ideas connect. And the rule is simple. The bigger the bubble, the more everyone's talking about it. And you can see the main themes right away. Teacher training is right there in the middle, of course, but just look at how massive those bubbles are for motivation and engagement. That tells you everything. The number one thing researchers care about is how to use these methods to get students more excited, more involved, and ultimately, to perform better. It's also cool to see how the conversation has kind of grown up. Back in the early days, it was all about the basics. What is game design? How do we get people to collaborate? But lately, the talk has shifted to real-world applications, like specific teacher training programs, and how to bring in cutting-edge tech like VR and augmented reality. Okay, we've looked at all the research trends, but let's bring it back down to earth. What does all this academic stuff actually mean for teachers and students in the real world? Yeah, let's ask that question directly. How does all this research translate into the skills teachers actually need and the tools they can really use to build that classroom of the future? Well, the research points to a whole new set of skills. It's not just about knowing how to use an app. Teachers need to be able to design lessons like a game designer, use the tech like a pro,
tell stories like a writer, and manage teamwork like a coach. It's a real multi-talented role.
And the amazing thing is, this isn't science fiction. It's already happening with tools a lot of teachers are familiar with. Things like Kahoot and Genially make it super easy to add a bit of gamification, while huge games like Minecraft EDU show just how powerful fully immersive game-based learning can be. So, after digging through all this research, what's the verdict? Well, the big takeaway is that, yes, this stuff does seem to have a positive effect on student achievement, but, and this is the most important part, it only works if teachers get the training, the resources, and the support they need to do it right. And that really brings us to our final thought. We've seen how fast this field has grown and what it looks like today. But with huge technologies like virtual reality and AI just around the corner, where does this all go next? What's the next level up for learning through play going to look like?